Guys, welcome back to the Ox Podcast. That name is still in the making, guys. But for now, we'll roll with the Ox Podcast. I have with me a very special guest today. He has been an online mentor for a long time. He has been an inspiration from afar from a long time. So it is a very big pleasure of mine to be able to sit here with you today and have this conversation. I just want to open the floor now for you to introduce yourself. And one thing I would like you to also maybe tell us a little bit more about yourself, because we're going to be talking about your journey. The journey of integration in the Netherlands, how you got to where you are, you know, being an inspiration to a lot of people who you might or might not know. I want you to just tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, and also zoom in a bit on your academic background before you left your home country.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much for this genuine introduction. I am Joachim Kikomeko. I was born and raised in Uganda. So I came to the Netherlands when I was 25, and that should be 17 years ago. 17 years ago, I came to the Netherlands when I was 25 because I met a Dutch lady who happened to be my girlfriend at that time, and now we are currently she's my girlfriend, and we are getting married anytime soon.
Oh, okay.
With 2 kids at the moment. Before I came here, I lived in Uganda. I also did university in Uganda, but then I decided to come to the Netherlands to join my girlfriend, and then we stayed together from that time. When I came, I lived in this very small, very big city, student city, Leiden.
Okay.
Leiden. That's when I joined immediately. But before I came here, I was doing medicine in Uganda, and I really wanted to continue with my career or to do something related to that in this country. So for me, it was a very big challenge, just in case I didn't succeed to get in there.
Right.
Currently, as we're talking, I'm a physician oncologist. That means the Dutch call it an internist, a physician oncologist.
He's a specialist, guys. A specialist. So he's he's there. He's at the end point of what a doctor is trying to get to. Yeah. Just to clarify that.
So I'm actually a medical specialist in the Netherlands after having done 13 years of studies.
13 years of studies
13 years of studies here in the Netherlands. Now I'm a specialist, and I work in both in Amsterdam and Hoofddorp, in the Spaan Gasthuis and Amsterdam UMC.
Right.
So that's actually my background. I did all my study in Amsterdam. Dus the Amsterdam University, dus the VU University. Dus that's the Vrije University in Amsterdam. Some of you know it in Amsterdam Zuid. When I came here, it was quite a bit challenging as a foreigner because studying medicine in this country isn't that easy, but it is possible.
We're going to come to that. We're going to come to that.
Exactly.
Because I want to make sure the context is clear, right? So you did medicine in Uganda already.
I did 3 years of medicine in Uganda.
Of medical school.
Of medical school. Yeah.
Okay, so you were not a doctor yet in Uganda.
Not yet. No.
Okay, so you were still in medical school.
Yeah.
And then love brought you to the Netherlands. Basically.
Love brought me to the Netherlands.
Yes.
Love brought me to the Netherlands. Yeah.
And you came here. You did not speak the language before, right?
Yeah.
You were coming here, no idea what the integration process would be like in the country.
Exactly.
And you were 25 years old.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That does paint a good picture of how your journey came to you being here. Was it easy for you to do the documentation to get here because you had a partner?
Yeah. Because I had a partner, the documentation wasn't that a problem because I came here with the necessary documentation. Some of us called it MVV, it's a special visa that unites partners. So for me, that wasn't a big problem, most especially because most of it was organized by my girlfriend at that moment.
Okay.
So,
just out of curiosity, so you were not married?
We were not married.
Okay, so your girlfriend could apply for you to come?
My girlfriend could apply for me to come. It was a very lengthy process, but it is doable.
It is doable.
It is doable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how would you describe the integration process? So let's say you've come to the Netherlands. You do have a Dutch partner, so you have some connection to the country.
Yeah.
But how did you feel in those first months being in a new place? I don't know, did you know other Ugandans here? Had you been in contact with people? How were the first few months for you in terms of, okay, I'm in this country now, and I'm trying to integrate in this country and continue life?
Yeah, fortunately, I knew a few Ugandans who, some of them I used to call also friends of mine who came before me.
Okay.
But we didn't stay in the same location, or we didn't stay together. But staying in this country, it was to me, because I just as you said, I didn't speak a single word of Dutch. I didn't understand Dutch when I came here. So you walk on the streets and everything is, you don't feel, I didn't feel like I belong here. You know, it's
Right.
like you walk on the street and people are talking and you don't know what the conversation is, and you can't read. So, and I used to have all my English directions, because wherever I went, I had to print them in English. And you reach a train station and you only see things that you don't really understand. It was quite challenging as a new person here who don't do that. But at the same time, for me, was that also the motivation. I was like, if I have to live here, I don't want to live here as a foreigner for the rest of my life. Some foreigner, I mean somebody who doesn't understand what is going on in the country where you live. So I really wanted to understand where I was going, and everything, what I was doing, and what people are talking about me. And you know, people are talking and you don't know what they're talking. It is quite a bit stressful.
Right.
The very first thing I did when I reached here, I asked my girlfriend to enroll me to a Dutch course.
Why?
Because I realized that was the only way I could do medical school, because I had done research, and I saw there's no way I could do medicine, which was my dream, in English.
Okay.
So I asked her to enroll me to a Dutch school. There is a lot of integration processes when you come here, especially when family reunion. I think people call it Immersion, something like that.
Immersion, yeah.
But I knew friends of mine who gone through that, and after 3 years they could only buy bread in the supermarket. So it's like the Dutch. If you really want to study it, it's not really enough.
Very basic.
It's very, very basic, and it takes you a lot of time to even reach a level that can just buy bread in the supermarket. So I was like, I really wanted the Dutch course that could really, because I never wanted to waste even 1 year. I just wanted to go and study medicine, and the only way to do that was to do an intensive Dutch course that could help me pass the required exam, because as a foreigner they require you to have in the Dutch they call it NT2 program 2, Dutch as a second language. If you pass that, you could be able to study in any university here in the Dutch language. The only way to do that is to do a very intensive course.
Yeah. And then after you came and you asked your girlfriend that because you had done your research, right, which is a good thing. So a lot of people don't do that before they come. When you came to the country, did you find a language school immediately? You had friends who were here. Were your friends also, you know, understanding of the fact they wanted to do language school and university? Like, what was the feedback you were getting from your surrounding?
Yeah, that is a very, very good question. Almost all my friends went through the Immersion process, and that is at that moment that was the normal way. You know, you wait until the government finds you a school, and you go to integrate, learn how to you learn the country. They teach you how you interact with your neighbor. That was actually all my friends had gone through that process. But that helped me also, because I could see what they have achieved in the years, and to me was that not enough. I really wanted more, you know. I really wanted to achieve something in a small time. Because to be fair enough, I was like, if I have to live here, I had a chance to do medicine wherever I came from, and I really want to be a doctor. So I was like, I could only be happy living here after achieving that dream, because otherwise I think I would be living unhappy here with whatever I could have achieved. That is what I think. Maybe I could have found something to repress my passion, but I don't know it. I really want to do that. So after having seen what my colleagues had achieved at that moment, my friends, I was like, I really wanted to do more, and I asked my girlfriend to look for one, and fortunately we found a good Dutch course at the University of Leiden.
Okay, And how long did it take you to study Dutch, or to learn Dutch to B2 level?
That's a good one. Actually, I started, I think, in my 3rd week of staying in the Netherlands.
Oh, that was quick.
That was quick. That was quick.
quick.
And that's what I also advise people. I have a few friends who decided to go to Dutch school after 3 years,
Right.
then it is very hard to change the way you speak, the culture, because sometimes you learn to speak Dutch the wrong way. And the time you want to do it the right way, you always kept behind because of the wrong way you did. So I was like, I want very fast. So I did, within 3 weeks of staying here, I joined the course. It was at the university, the Dutch language, the language center of the university actually it was like 2 streets from my from where I lived at that moment, and I did like 3 mornings a week.
How many hours?
I was like from 9 to 12.
Okay. Yes,
but that is a physical one. But I used to live with homework that could keep me for the whole afternoon.
Okay.
So actually, I could say 3 good days, 3 days a week.
Right. So it's like 3 days, 3 mornings, 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah.
And then homework after that, which add to the 4 hours.
Which add to the 4 hours. So
okay.
So it could be. It was best intensive. And one thing is the teacher who taught me. She spoke to me on day 1 in English, on day 2 in English, and from that moment only in Dutch. Only in Dutch.
Right.
And, in the beginning, I was like, "What is this?" But it really helped. And to go back to your question, how long it took me to pass the other exam that I was supposed to pass?
That's the
NT2 Programme 2 took me 6 months.
6 months.
6 months to pass the exam.
So it took you 6 months from when you started language school.
Yeah.
To passing the B2 exam.
The B2 exam. It took me 6 months, but those were 6 months of intensive Dutch. And another thing that I had is like my girlfriend was Dutch, so at one time we decided to switch at home from English to only speaking Dutch.
Yeah.
I also decided something that was changing and challenging. At home, I was only watching Dutch TV. Okay. So because I switched from BBC, which was my favorite, and CNN at that moment. So I was like, I'm only going to watch Dutch TV for a reason. And I even got like an assignment from my teacher to watch a program some of most people don't know, Goeie Tijden, Slechte Tijden.
Ooh, that was my program too. Goeie Tijden, Slechte Tijden. Till today, when I see that program, it has a special place in my heart.
Yeah,
I don't know what the show is just. It's a good one.
They told me to do that because they were articulated. They're articulating and they are not talking very fast. And at one time I was following it. I ended up, so I always had like at around 8, I used to sit with my girlfriend, watch Goeie Tijden, Slechte Tijden. Not anymore, but that was my program to push me through the whole process. So after 6 months, I did the exam and I passed it. But at that moment I was like, I've passed the exam. And I'm sure if I get through all the other qualifications, I can be admitted for medicine. But I was like, am I really ready to do a Dutch in a university course in Dutch? At that moment, there was an option of continuing to do like an academic, an extra 3 months on top of that.
Like an
academic level Dutch. So I also chose to do that, irrespective of the fact that I had already passed the exam. I chose to do the extra 3 months. So actually I could say it took me 9 months to 1 year before I finalized it.
Did you feel fluent after the 9 months, after the 6 months? Was there any point you felt like, okay, I was really fluent?
As you can hear, my English accent has really been impenetrated toward the Dutch. When I came here, I was speaking very good English.
It's inevitable. It happens to the best of us.
So my English has really, at one time I was like, because I was speaking Dutch and I ended up at home, at school, everywhere, I'm only speaking Dutch. With my friends, I speak Luganda. Luganda is the language from Uganda where I come from. So that one I can never forget. But English ended up suffering. So the question is, if I felt fluent after having passed the exam, surprisingly, I could hear everything. I could read everything, whatever I wanted. To the extent that I found myself reading books, and at the end of it all, I could ask myself in which language was the book. It's like if I read, I was like, in which language I read. So
yes, you're not really aware of the fact that you're reading in Dutch or in
exactly,
English.
Exactly. Okay. So you're like, you read, and then somebody asks me which language was the book, and I don't. I don't remember.
And that was after 6 months or 9 months?
After 9 months. After 6 months, it is good. You've passed the exam, but I think you really need to challenge yourself with more.
Right, because a lot of people here, I did it in like 8 months, right? I started in August and around April I took the exam, so like 7 to 8 months. And when I tell people, because I make a lot of videos talking about this, because people think it's not possible, you cannot do it. So when I tell people this, they're always like, nah, it's impossible for you to go from 0 to B2 in that short amount of time. And then I watched your interview a few weeks ago, and you said 6 months. I was like, that's crazy, because that's because I know a lot of friends in Germany do it. They come 6 months, they get their Dutch C1, and then they go into university. So it's very possible, but it's just if you're not exposed to people who have done it before, you keep feeling like, oh, it's something which you need to take 2 years, 3 years for, which some people might have to, because everybody has their different speeds at which they learn. But it's possible to do it in such a short amount of time. And it's 3 days a week, so it wasn't 5 days a week.
It wasn't 5 days a week. So
it's 3 days a week, a few hours, but you have to put in the work. Because I had the same thing where I was a delivery boy, so I would deliver newspapers. So every morning I'm there with the krant, like the newspaper, reading in the morning, trying to read the headlines. I know the headlines are not good Dutch, so I read the headlines and then I go to school and I tell them what I read. They're like, remember, the headlines are not good Dutch, so you have to like read the context and everything. But I would constantly be reading, go home, sit down, watch the news in Dutch, and try to expose myself, and every day you hear, okay, I'm picking up one word, I'm making sense of one thing, or this does not make sense, you go to school and you ask. Those are the kind of ways in which you can really practice your own self. But again, it depends on your circumstance, right? So the question to you was, did you have anything else you were doing outside of language school at that time?
It's a good question, because I was doing exactly the same thing you did. So I was in the morning, I was doing my, because when I joined medical school, I was like, I didn't have to do something, I didn't need to do something, to be able to sustain myself. By the time you come here, we have responsibilities in back home. So I was like, and the easiest was a friend of mine who told me, let's join. My friend was already doing it, so the crowd. I was bring newspapers in the morning, so I used to wake up at 5. Bring them and come back at home, I think around 6, half past 6, and then I prepare myself to go for the Dutch.
It was very odd hours, waking up at 4:45. It took me back to boarding school. I was like, this is just too early. Everyone is sleeping. You can really feel the silence.
Exactly. So I did that for almost like 3 months or something of that nature, because I did it in period of November, December, and January. After you get the cards. After that, it was too cold. I decided to stop, and I looked for something different. At one time, I was working in a supermarket, the Dikros supermarket. I was after in the magazine. I was like for an order picker. So that's we used to prepare things for the supermarket. So that's what I did.
So you do that after school then?
So I used to do that after school. But that means I used to go to school up to like 12, go work, come back. I also finish my homework.
Yeah.
So I used to combine. It was quite a busy life, but I was determined because I really loved what I did and I had hopes of for a better future. So that's exactly what was my motivation.
I think the determination is an important one. Just before we get to the next part, I think that point you said about switching with your girlfriend, switching to Dutch. I know it's something which I advise a lot of people, if you have Dutch friends and stuff like that, switch and try to practice with them, because that's free practice. You don't have to pay for anyone.
Exactly.
But one thing people really struggle with a lot of the times is when you connect with someone in a specific language and then you have to switch the languages, it feels unnatural.
That's true.
Especially in this kind of partnership where it's your partner, life partner. Did that affect the dynamic, or was it just like, this is what we have to do, we do it, and it worked out? Was there like any shift in the dynamic which was uncomfortable?
No, the thing is, my girlfriend was really determined to do everything to make me succeed.
Okay.
So I could imagine my girlfriend speaks very fast. That was also another, because she's not an average person on the street.
Right.
When she's speaking, I think she speaks like twice faster than. So I was like, in the beginning, I couldn't follow her because I could watch Kuitai and they are speaking like so.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend speaks she accelerates. So I was like, by the time, but then I was like, sometimes I was like, what have you said? So I could ask her again and again, and I realized she wasn't getting frustrated. So she would, so she was helping, and that helped me. by the time I could understand her, that means I could understand everybody on the street.
Right.
So
Okay.
so I got the training from somebody
You
who
got
is
the military language
actually the
training.
military language training, because she's even right now she's very fast now. But now I'm I could say I speak fluent Dutch, something of that nature, so I can understand everybody. So the biggest problem was that is to understand conversations when with a group of people. One-on-one is actually the first thing that goes better, but when it comes to a group of people, it is quite hard because you have to.
There's interruptions and
There's
stuff
interruption,
like that.
yeah,
Do your
exactly.
kids speak fast now too?
My kids speak fast. Actually, my kids they are completely Dutch, so they speak Dutch without an accent. They speak just like the mother. They speak very fast.
Right.
So at home, I'm the one who has the accent.
Right. It's inevitable. What would you say is the most important thing people should keep in mind when they just move here? In terms of you're moving to this country and you're trying to make a future for yourself here, or at least even for the temporary period you're going to be here. What is one important thing which, from your experience, from talking to people, from interacting with people on a mentor-mentee level, what is one important thing you should keep in mind when you move here to be able to position yourself properly for success?
Yeah, and that's true. Most people who move here, that's why I'm very happy you're doing this, what you're doing at the moment. People don't have mentors. When they come here and they tend also to join our communities, I happen to be very active in my own community, or African communities, and most of the thing is in our African communities we lack mentors who are going to lead you to the things that you want. Because when I came here, in my whole community, I didn't know anybody who was a doctor. I didn't know. And I used to get even to the people who were here, the elderly people who, I had a number of people who told me, don't go to study, go make money. And they even told me, after all, you won't even, you think you become a doctor, they won't even give you a job here. It's like, this is the mentorship that I used to go. It was a negative mentorship. And I think there is a very big need for our communities for people to get mentored the right way, because people are made to believe things are not possible. Some things are not possible. And the one thing I want to tell all the people, especially in our communities, people who may be watching this, there's nothing that is not possible. If you really want something, it is very possible. If you want something, look for somebody, or look for there is always somewhere, somehow. And I think now we have different networks in our communities. Look for those networks to guide you, most especially from the beginning. From the beginning, when you are here, don't wait to stay here for 2 years and look for help. Because sometimes I know a number of people who, when after staying here for 2 years, you found other networks, you're already having other jobs, somewhere. It becomes very hard for you to switch once you have earned some money and to go back to school. So I advise them from the beginning, most especially know what you want and search for that from the beginning. And they are always the mentorship, the mentorship, but there are always people who can help you, guide you. It may not be from the community, but there are always people who are going to guide you. Because when I came here, I didn't have any mentor. But I did a lot of search on the internet. The universities I applied to, my girlfriend didn't help me with that. My girlfriend is a teacher, a primary teacher, so she knew nothing in medicine. But I sat behind the computer and I was like, this university is better than this one when it comes to foreigners. This university is doing this, So those things I did myself. I was like, this. The good thing she did for me is to look for me the Dutch course, and from there I did myself. And even when I knew there was not enough or good mentors, because I got a lot of mentorship, but all of it was negative. If I could tell somebody I'm going to do medicine for 6 years, they're like, after 6 years I would, because if you go earn money after 6 years, they even calculated how much I would have earned. After 6 years I would have earned. So it took me a lot of it is very hard in such an environment for you to take the other direction. But I tell people, if you really want something, don't let anybody tell you it is not possible.
But it's you said a lot there, right? Like the mentorship, I really see the value of it. I mentor a lot of people, young Africans, young Cameroonians, who the way they reach out to me, I can tell that they want more. You know, they are coming to an environment where they imagine could be difficult for them to integrate. So they really want to seek the guidance. And when I talk to them, and I've met a lot of them because they're in the country, it's just, you can really tell that they want more, but then the environment is not conducive for what they want.
That's true.
It's not supportive, it's not understanding, has different priorities. And you mentioned the stuff about like our African communities, and I'm someone who I love the community. I'm a community builder. I love, you know, the culture, the food, being in a Cameroonian setting. That you laugh about things which people don't even need to explain.
Exactly.
It's just, it feels nice. But then it's like those communities, a lot of people who come and do not necessarily have a mindset where they can see the benefit of the communities, they run away from the communities, right? But then, for example, I found you because of the Ugandan community, right? And I reached out to you and you were so willing to help. You were so willing to come and have a conversation. These are the kind of things which we need to pay forward. But it's such a nuanced thing to, for example, come here and go into the community like a Cameroonian community and find your way and find the people without having in your mind, oh, this community might be bad for me because of the way they think. They might think that way, but there's 1 or 2, 3 people in there who think like you. And it's worth going through the motions to find those people as opposed to running away from the community. Because a lot of people I talk to nowadays, young people come here, they're really trying to like shy away from the community, which I understand. But then there's people like you in those communities, you know, there's people like me in those communities who want to really help others who are coming in as well. But if you don't put yourself in those spaces and try to be intentional with finding people, you'll never find them.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. You're very, very right, because when we realize such a thing, you know, we have also some experts who are coming from here to do different works, who have reached the highest levels of work of education. Those people, you won't find them in the communities. You know, most of them when they come here, I know most especially in my own Ugandan community, there is a group of the land. They have their own organization, so they meet only as them. So the land. So I've been asked several times to join their community. I was like, if you join our community, then I will join your community. So that's for me is that for me. So for us, we started up the community. We know we bring them together. That's the only way you can find out who are the people in your community, how you can help them. So with a few friends of mine, you've met a few. We've started that community. Community house. We have had a number of community houses in Amsterdam. We have activities for the kids. So we have kids who are going to school. So we want to start from the beginning, because we even have kids who have been born here in our community who still have been led to think that it is not possible for them to study. It is not possible for them to go for higher school. It's like we have mentalities that, you know, the kids have mentality that after high school they are also going to do something different. You know, I know the community. We have we want to mentor those kids from that level, so that at least we know at the end of it all, these people have got the mentorship. You can still do whatever you want, but at least you've got the mentorship.
Right. Yeah? And for you, right? Because a lot of people also make the argument, which I believe in. I have a lot of friends in different parts of the world, and they move there and they stick to themselves as Cameroonians, right? So now we're saying, okay, the communities have benefits as well, right? But I also see friends who move abroad and only stick to these communities, right? As opposed to which I think if you're moving to a country like this, expose yourself to the community of that country, speak the language, get to know the culture, food, everything, right? What is, in your opinion, the added benefit of having a Ugandan community like you have, or a Cameroonian community? Why not just go and interact with the Dutch? What is the added benefit of being part of a community that is not made up from your home?
Like I live here, and I can say right now I'm Dutch. I'm a Ugandan. I'm a Ugandan. It's like if I'm in such a community, you know, that's what you say. You know, some of us, when you go there, some people don't even know my name. They call me doctor. I didn't want them to start to call me name. But I'm saying when I'm there, you find yourself. That's what you said. Laughing, making jokes, and you know, it's like it feels also home. You know, you're like you're here. I've made Netherlands my home. But at least in the Ugandan community, I'm also home away from home.
Right.
So I have kids. I know the kids, they know I'm a Ugandan, but they should grow up knowing who are the Ugandans. You know, how do Ugandans relate with each other? So that means my kids should also see the Ugandan community. And at that time, I also want the community, the kids to see that the Ugandan community is, we have been made to think, most especially people of our color, we tend to fall in one on the other side of life. It's like, I don't want to go into there, but at least you know what I'm talking about. So having a Ugandan community that is very productive, having kids from the Ugandan community that are also going to achieve something, that is the one thing. So I go to the community for two things. I have achieved something. I want to have that community benefit from what I have achieved. But also at one time, there is a way I feel when I'm in that community.
Right.
So I advise people not only to stay in the communities, because that means you're going to stay for the rest of your life as a foreigner in a foreign language. Right. Community is good, but it is also good to interact with the Dutch people,
right,
or with the country, wherever you are in this country, with the Dutch people, because the communities don't have, you're rich, your network is your net worth. If you're not able to network, it will be very hard for you, because our communities don't have the number of jobs we want. Right. I want to be employed by my community.
Right.
I need that network outside there. At the end of it all, most of people in my community don't speak Dutch.
Yeah.
If I need a good Dutch, I need to interact with the people who are going to, even if it means talking. And there are so many things we don't understand in our community. There's this hidden curriculum. It's like if I'm like a Ugandan talking with Ugandan, and you talk with a Dutch person, they may misunderstand you. Right. Because you don't, there's this hidden curriculum that you don't understand.
Yes, yeah.
So if you want to learn all those hidden things that you don't know, it is good to interact with the people.
Yeah, and one thing I like about your Ugandan community is the focus you place on empowerment. Right, like since I've known the community, because I always wondered like why specifically the Ugandan community, and you guys like have there's some level of understanding which comes when you know the context. Like, this child comes from Uganda, you understand the Ugandan educational system, so you can advise them better based on the grades and how they can integrate that here.
Yeah.
I might come as a Cameroonian, we're still African, so a lot of things are similar, but then I don't understand your educational system, so I cannot necessarily advise them directly on how to. So like those things are really well tackled in the Ugandan community, where if you're a Ugandan who is coming into the country, you know exactly where to go to get advice that is tailored for you and like suitable for you, and that is helping you navigate. But like, you guys are open to other people as well, and you help other people as well. But I like the fact that the focus is on really empowering the Ugandan community to really thrive in this country, as opposed to just trying to constantly survive on crumbs. I have another question for you, because one thing you said about the negative feedback is like people just kind of, figuratively put ceilings for you where you cannot overcome. Do you, at the moment, you're a specialist, medical doctor, oncologist, difficult internal medicine, and how difficult it is to get into those specializations. Do you feel like there is any sort of ceiling for you because you're an African man here?
It is no, there are always those hidden things that you don't know.
Right.
But I would say you've done medical school. When I was at medical school in Amsterdam, we had a few African people. I could relate with a few. There were 2 boys from Congo, there were 3 ladies from Ghana, and a few other countries. You could see a number of them. Actually, you see quite a lot of them at medical school. That is something that you don't see when you at a specialist level,
Right.
And that is quite challenging. But there are 2 things. When I was at medical school, I knew my task. I was like, there was a Nigerian orthopedic surgeon who was Nigerian, and I was like, he was the only guy, who looked like me in this very big hospital. So I went to him and I asked him, how did you make it? And he told me one thing. He said, if you really want to make it, you have to be better. So he told me you have to be better. I didn't understand that thing by that, but the real meaning of that. So by the time I was like, there's so many people who told me, if you are really going to apply for the same job with a native, if you're not better, then you cannot compete. That this thing took me to do a lot of things at the moment. I can tell you I did 2 studies at the same time. So I did medicine as biomedical sciences because I was preparing for my future. I was like, if I want to go apply for a job, I have to be able to convince somebody I did this. So that extra mile I took is something actually that could be compared to the because that means for me to reach something, I have to do extra work. So if I'm going to think I'm going to reach exactly the same as a native by doing exactly the same, then it will be quite a bit challenging because it might be hard. Most of the people who looked like me when I was doing a medical school, some of them were on top of me, like 2-3 years. And I can remember I had a number of talks with them, and the other ones, many of them told me, you're never going to succeed if you want to work in a hospital. That's what they
your
told
classmates?
No, they were actually above me. They were 2 years above me, because for them they had seen it before. Actually, I remember when I was almost in my 5th year, for them they were already finished.
Right.
And then I can remember 2 of them wanted to become physicians, internists.
What you are now?
What I am now. But then, to some reasons, they didn't manage to make it. And then I talked to them, I was like, I want to do this. They told me, it is not, forget it. You're never And at one time I believed it. Right. I was like, I'm never going to make it. But I was like, I really want it. But I was only seeing people who are not succeeding.
Right.
And that is very demotivating. People, and at a certain moment, there are so many, and that is true. When I was in medical school, I could walk everywhere. I could see black people, of people who are not natives. And I'm a specialist. And even when I'm at a conference, wherever you are the only one walking there who look like yourself. I don't see anybody who looks like me. So it looks like actually there should be something. Why is it that we have like maybe 20% medical students with who are not natives, but we have 1% medical specialists?
Right.
So they should, even if I am not seeing the platform, the platform should be there, because why is it that it is not that those people don't want to become specialists? Because I know maybe 4 or 5 who really wanted it and who didn't make it,
but had some barriers.
Yeah.
So you might not have experienced the barriers.
I might not have experienced the barriers.
You can only imagine they must have been there.
They must have been there.
You were describing the whole thing. I've literally just had I think you've probably seen it, Liana Milders.
Yeah.
I work with her, and she does like the leaky pipeline phenomenon in medical schools.
Yeah.
And like she shows where everyone falls off and what happens and discrimination and stuff like that. That literally just brought that picture to my head again. And I think it's like, I agree with you. There are barriers. There are systematic barriers, and I think it would be very ignorant of us to say, okay, no, there's no barriers. If you want it, you can get it. But there is an argument to be made as well for the role that determination plays and resilience, because I don't see 2 heads on your head. You know what I mean?
No.
I don't have 2 heads. It is possible. Resilience can get you there. Don't expect it to be easy. It takes hard work, but it's doable. And I feel like the message of there are challenges in the system, which are systematic, which make it difficult for like Africans, people like us, to just progress and skyrocket. There are barriers there. So another person who is from here is going to excel with a lot less work faster than you. That is true. There's a lot of arguments to be made for that. But let's always put that argument next to the argument of it's also possible.
Definitely.
And I think we need more representation of that too. Like you, Dr. Busari, those people who are like in the system doing their thing. It's difficult, but it's doable. And it's going to be exhausting to get there, but if you really want it, you can get there. And I feel like we need more of those people who really want it to get there, so that they can show others. Like me, I'm a doctor, but that was not my goal, is to help people. I don't want to be a clinician that bad.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But I want to help people who want it that bad to get there and believe that they can get there. And I feel like that's why we need more stories like this, for people to actually show that, okay, this is possible, but also this is possible. You just have to pick which one you focus on. Because if you focus on the negatives, you're only going to reinforce the negatives in your life as well. But if you focus on the positives, then there just might be a chance that you also make it there. I think that messaging is also important.
Yeah. And that is also, maybe I add one thing. When I was in medical school, I joined all these clubs. I was like student, not student, but studievereniging. Like a study group. I was like, every Wednesday I would be, we used to have like a party. We could go together. We gather together. And most of my friends, most of the people who from our communities who did medicine, they were like, after medical school, they go back home. So it is very even in the medical school themselves, there was no time for them to network.
Right.
And I understand there are so many reasons. That's why we do that from our communities. You know, some of us go to study, but at the end of it, we have other responsibilities. Means after studying, you need maybe you have to work, which the natives don't even have to work. You know,
Right.
natives are not worried spending 6 years where the course is 5 years. For us, we really want to finish it actually in 4.5 years.
Right.
You know?
If it's possible.
If it is possible. And we end up missing the chance of networking, because that is actually from that moment, I can see most of the people I'm interacting with right now, though I'm classmates at that moment, and these are people I didn't learn them in the college, so in the lecture room. It was actually outside the lecture room, those interactions that are very much important,
Right.
to interact with the people.
And network.
Network, because my network has helped me, and maybe that is the only thing that defines me different from other friends of mine who have not made it.
It could be.
So that's what I'm saying. It is good to emphasize on your network. It is good to stay in your communities, wherever you are, but at least you really have to network. It is going to help you wherever, and this is also in our countries. If you don't have a network, you won't succeed.
You won't succeed.
So it's also here the same thing. You really need the networks, and when you network, you get to learn more things that you want to learn in class.
Yeah.
That you want things that you are not going to learn in a lecture room.
That is
how
true.
you interact in the culture here.
Yeah. If you were to go back,
Yeah.
it's a long time, 17 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you were to go back 17 years,
Yeah.
knowing what you know now, having worked for the amount of time you work now, would you still choose medicine?
Yeah, I would still choose medicine, and maybe it would even be easier for me, because I have learned some few things the hard way, you know, and this is exactly why I want to help some people, so that they don't learn. They don't have to learn the things that I learned the hard way.
What's the most?
Yeah?
What's the hardest thing? What is the thing that when you think of I had to learn this thing the hard way, the thing that comes to mind immediately?
No, I've encountered a number of things. No, it's like actually I'm very happy whatever I've done, but there are a few things that I'm like. How I don't exactly know. The good day I've encountered a number of things, but maybe even the fact that I had to do, you know, I did two courses at the same time. I did a number of extra activities, you know, to make sure I succeed. Was that really necessary?
Right.
Was that really necessary? Maybe I would have concentrated on something different, you know, having enjoyed to the maximum my student life, you know.
Right.
Maybe it was not really necessary. And I'm telling people, if you want to study medicine, it is not really necessary. You have just to concentrate on that one thing that you do and do it the right way.
Right.
So I did maybe 6 things at the same time, because I knew if I didn't do them,
the chances would be lower.
my chances would be low.
I had the exact same thing with the bachelors, you know.
Yeah.
President of this one, president of basketball club, secretary of this one, joining surgery associations, this extra course here, that extra course there, because it increases your CV. And the good thing is for me, because I think I'm very reflective. I try to really think about where I am. So I stopped, I think, relatively early. So like from year 2, year 3, I was like, okay, we're not doing this anymore. Do the things I like doing. Coaching, making videos, things I actually like get energy from, not just things which I'm doing because I'm trying to fit a specific quota, which could be useful in the future, but it also could not be very, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that I think that's something which I also experienced, and everyone goes through that journey, and it depends on, I think that's when mentorship can play a big role. How fast you get to learn that, okay, those things are really not important.
Exactly.
Because like my mentees now, I tell them, they're in the country for like 1 or 2 years. If you feel like you have to do it, do it. But know that I think it might not be necessarily what you want. You have that input. You don't need to take it.
Yeah.
Like I tell Dr. Busari, he's my mentor, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
He tells me he has his opinions. He has strong opinions, and I love it. He's a Nigerian man, strong opinions. I tell him, Doc, this is my plan, this is what I'm trying to do. And he looks me in the eye and he tells me, yeah, I don't think that is a good plan, but I also know that I have my archaic way of thinking, and you don't need to follow my advice. But it's just the fact that he has given me his input. Whether I do anything with that or not is not the point. But at least I have a different perspective to look from. And I feel like that's really important, especially with things like this, where you might just keep thinking that, oh, this is going to help me, this is going to help me in the future. But it could not. And if someone ever puts a mirror in front of you and tells you, okay, look, you might not need this. you might just stay in that bubble for way too long, longer than you're supposed to be staying there.
Exactly. That's just one thing, and maybe I did the hard way, but I need to help. Recently, I think a few weeks ago, I talked to one of the mentees. He happens to be also somebody who looks like me, comes from Uganda, doing medicine here in the Netherlands.
Oh yeah?
And he reads my CV and he's like, I did 2 studies and everything. And he has also enrolled he also happened to enroll for a second course. And after some time, he realized it is too much, it's too, and he talked to me, I said, come to the hospital, call me anytime you want. So he talks to me, I'm like, it is really not necessary. You see, it is really even affecting the other course that you're doing. Mm-hmm. So you're investing in a lot of time. At the end of it, it's going to end up affecting you. Mm-hmm. Currently, he has dropped the other one and he's doing great. He's doing great with the other one. Yeah. It's like, it is very fine.
These small things.
Small things. Yeah.
What has been the toughest part of integrating in the Netherlands for you? If you think about everything you've had to go through, or like your journey towards really feeling like, okay, I'm part of life in this country now. What has been the toughest part of it? Was it learning the language? Was it understanding Dutch people? Was it the food?
No, actually,
the Dutch is just coming out.
The Dutch is coming out. When it comes to food, everything, I don't have any problem because I can cook what I want. So, it's like we are living in a country where even when I want to eat Ugandan food, I can buy it and cook it. Mm-hmm. The language, I can tell you, I studied the language maybe 6 months, and I could do academic language, everything, but that's not everything. You learn the language and the hidden things in the language by talking to people. Right. When it comes to our medical field, this is exactly why I'm telling you there is this hidden curriculum. These are things that you won't learn at school. You can only integrate after you've learned them. Mm-hmm. It's like just only learning that it is not normal for you to put on a certain kind of clothing in a certain environment. I come from Uganda where if you're a doctor, you also have to put on a tie and everything. Right. It's not written here that it's not possible, but you won't find that in a hospital anywhere. When you're working in a hospital, it's like to integrate. Here you like. In where I come from, there's a lot of this hierarchy. How do you dare talk to your seniors by name, and I come here and I try to do exactly the same. Right. And people are going to misinterpret me by being they would tend to think you are less you don't have any interest, because you are trying to give people more respect. Right. And I used to see my colleagues, medical students talking to our our professor by name. How are you? You were like
Mark,
jovial.
John, how's your night? How's your child?
And then I'm like, yeah, a professor. So right. And the guy, I think the professor used to think, why is he doing this? It's like they misinterpret it. Those are some of the things. You can speak the best Dutch, but the moment you don't know some of those small things, and that's why some of our, I'm guiding a lot of medical students. But that means also medical students with a background, and some of them, they tend to isolate themselves, not because they are not social, but because of the way we are brought up. Right. We are brought up, it's like, and then at the end of it all, it will stay, because when they are going to give you like a cipher, I'll call it, when they are going to give you a grade, all those things count. Right. He's not social. He's not social. Right. He's not interested. But and this is somebody who speaks fluent Dutch. Right. But these are things that we don't really understand. You learn them the hard way.
Yeah. I don't think it's important because where we come from, your grade is your grade. Your participation is not necessarily a big thing. But here, those things, you're social. Are you a team player? Are you involved? Are you contributing? Exactly. Those things play a big role. And you don't know, and then you don't pass, and then it bothers you, and then you don't understand because you never really ask. Yeah. All these things. Okay. I definitely understand and relate with.
That's one of the things. Yeah, definitely. I have also had a few cases where people race issues. I've discrimination, racism. I've had some of those things. They directly or indirectly. I have a number of examples of people who have discriminated me in a way that you would think, wow, You know,
That's not necessary.
That's not necessary. Yeah, yeah. The good thing is most of that thing has happened to me in the side jobs that I did.
Right.
More than in the hospital. In the hospital, there are also some very examples I could give, but more of them I could say in the hospital is a bit. It has been a bit different. Although as a black man working in a hospital, you could be highly misinterpreted for if you put on your white coat, you could be highly misinterpreted for something different. For something different.
We've all been there. We've all been there. Yeah. Okay. So the last question, or like last but one. What piece of advice do you have for people who just moved to this country? It might feel like a repetition to a previous question, but what piece of advice do you have for people who are just moving to this country and maybe struggling to find their footing, like find what they like doing, what they're passionate about, and they may sometimes feel defeated by the system? Like what piece of advice do you have for those people?
Yeah, I say if you just came here and you really want to achieve something, it may feel like repetition. Look for the people. There are always people who look like you, who share the same background, who have maybe gone through the same experience. You know, in a few years ago, it was very hard to find someone. These days, there are people I have met. LinkedIn, you know, LinkedIn is a very big, network. You can email somebody via there, and there are some people I have met. I didn't know I would ever meet them.
Right.
You always look there. There are some platforms. There are LinkedIn platforms. Facebook is a bit more social. Look, join. Join the communities where we are. Look for the people who look like you, people who have gone through the same thing. Find a mentor, and find a mentor. It doesn't have to be somebody who comes from your country. For your information, when I was in Amsterdam, Amsterdam Zuidoost is there in the neighborhood. You know, before you do medicine here, I think you've gone through the same again. Before you do medicine, there is this decentral selection,
right,
whereby they require you to have done something. Have you done any placement in a hospital or in a place where they care for the elderly? But most of the people who look like me don't even know anybody who is a doctor.
Right.
You know, how are you going to ever go to a hospital to say, even if it is 1 or 2 days, to work with somebody? So, but what happened is, like, there's a group of Ghanaian people and actually also Cameroon people in Amsterdam Zuidoost who knew I was working in Amsterdam as a doctor, and almost every Wednesday I used to work with one kid. You know, these are 5-year kids, 5 or 6 who want to do medicine, and they want to have that experience in the
hospital.
And none of them was a Ugandan. Actually, I've had up to now. I've had like maybe 10, 15, so many kids, and I can count only one is a Ugandan.
Right.
But all the rest are people from African communities. So it doesn't have to be somebody who is coming from your community, because some of us, we limit ourselves to the communities where we come from.
Right.
You've just mentioned Professor Busari. He's a Nigerian man, but he has also inspired me. He's inspiring me. You know, it's like I looked for him via LinkedIn.
Right.
We've met before. You know, it's like he's not a Ugandan. Just the way I told you, the guy who gave me the piece of advice was also actually a Nigerian orthopedic surgeon. So I couldn't find these people in my own community, but doesn't mean these people are not there.
Right.
These people are there, and they have gone through the same thing. When you come here as a foreigner, it doesn't matter you're Ugandan or you're a Nigerian or we all go through the same experience.
Struggle. Yeah,
so
that is true.
So just look for them, and the earlier the better. Some people we want first settle. You really want to first settle. Do these things, especially because you know it is your future. The earlier you start to look for these things, the better. So I talked to last week when we were having our Ugandan networking issue. I talked to a Ugandan who is currently living in how do you call Asylum Seeker Centrum.
Yeah,
it's still Asylum Seeker Centrum. She's still trying to regularize some, but she has a part-time job, and that is good that it is possible. And I told her, ask your boss right now because the boss is really interested, ask the boss right now to enroll you to a Dutch course. Yeah? Because by the time you get your papers and everything, it will be maybe 2 or 3 years. If you enroll right now for the Dutch course, by the time you get the papers, you'll be done.
You're done.
Like just today, this morning, she told me, I asked my boss. My boss was very positive. And this lady is starting next week for a Dutch course. You know, you are in asylum center. These days it is possible for you to be placed somewhere, and this boss is now enrolling this person to a Dutch course. But if we didn't meet and they did give this advice, you know, these are some of small things.
Yeah, the problem is lack of knowledge, and I think that's one thing which, just to conclude, I want to thank you for, because sometimes it's really confusing coming to a new environment. You can be the smartest of them all, you know, familiar with life in your own country and stuff like that, but coming to a new environment, it can really be scary. And I think you are really putting in the effort with just your personal work, what you do, just showing up and being where you are now, putting in the hard work. Because I think I came across your profile on LinkedIn and then got connected more through the Uganda network, which is, just for people who do not know, it's called Career Advancement Network. So you can Google them, Career Advancement Network. I think mostly on Facebook and YouTube too.
No, internet website.
Exactly. So if you're a Ugandan and you're looking for a community to get tapped in empowerment, even if you're not a Ugandan and you're just looking for people to get inspired by, definitely look into that Career Advancement Network. I'll put more information as well in the description. But just what you're doing there, what you're doing on your personal level is really inspiring. And I know a lot of people who know you just from your online presence, and I think we definitely need more of that. We need more of the mentorship. We need more people who are in those spaces, but not only get into those spaces and also just inspiring people by their presence, but also proactively trying to pay it forward, you know, being open to mentoring others. When people reach out to you, not just see them as a nuisance, but see them as people who might actually just be in need of help and not know how to ask for help. Just trying to be really intentional with that. And I know that's something that I can see you doing from just online and also interacting with you. I can definitely see you have a heart for that. And I think we need more of that. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I would thank you very much also for giving a platform. You know, it's using your platform for not only other things, you know, but for these things. I know people who have such a platform, they will use it to earn money, you know, and whatever, you know, but you are using your platform to help people, most especially people in these communities. And I think that should be something that we should applaud of. I may help people, but my platform is a bit limited. You have a platform for exactly the people we are looking for, you know. And this is, you know, I'm a Ugandan, but my help is not limited to Ugandan. Everybody who needs the help, you can find me. And most of the people found me via LinkedIn, and most especially if you send me something via LinkedIn, I'll always respond. Sometimes
quickly too.
Sometimes it is we end it there, but I always respond, and I'm happy if I have helped somebody. You know, if every time I help somebody, that will be my how do you call it? Then I can sleep well.
Right.
Yeah. So
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Like I said in the beginning, we're definitely going to be having more conversations in the future about different things, because, you know, like, we doctors, young doctors, need help, advice with different things. People who are moving into the country trying to be specialists also need different, you know, sets of advice and tips and stuff like that. So we will definitely be having more conversations. But for now, thank you for being here, and on to the next conversation. Hope everything goes well with specialist life and everything you're navigating as well.
Thank you very much.